We're here on objections to the ex parte order that was entered regarding the minor children's school. Since it was issued ex parte, I think the burden is on the plaintiff to convince this court that that order should remain in effect. So let me hear from you, Mr. Bailey. I'm sorry, Mr. White.
Your Honor, if I may, as the court's aware, we're towards the end of May and the school year is going to end very shortly for these children. They're back in school where they were. We have no intention of asking the court to remove them and put them back where Ms. Lemay had them. But we felt it was very important to file an objection and to get an answer in the court file to protect the record that you saw from our answer. If you look at the petitioner, the ex parte motion that was filed, that you would think this is just some kind of run-of-the-mill case. And you can see from our answer that there's a whole lot going on here. It was important that be part of the record, and that while we certainly object to that ex parte order, we were simply protecting the record to deal with all of the allegations in that motion that were untrue. So I'm not sure how the court wishes to proceed. We're not going to pull kids out of school at this late juncture. It'll just be an issue for this trial this summer when we just try to decide where they go in the fall.
And let me be really clear. Unilateral changes in schooling, I don't look kindly upon. I realize you're separating, you're not a couple anymore, but changing kids' school without communicating and without agreement is something that I frown on. I recognize sometimes circumstances require when one parent is being particularly obstreperous. I'm not suggesting that's the case here, but in the normal course, I don't want these kids' school changed between now and the end of the year. I hope that's clear.
It is, Your Honor. I had that conversation with my client, and we're fortunate. We're at the end of the school year. We can address this in due course.
Okay, so you're also here on a motion to enter a PPO, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Bailey, was there anything you wanted to say about the objection to the ex parte order?
Yes, just for the record, Mr. Lemay stands by everything that was put in the motion for ex parte. The last day of school is June 17th, and the parties have a fixed C on June 1st, and we figured that the matter of school district and custody would be handled during the summer before the kids resumed school in the fall.
Okay. If the parties are unable to work that out, we'll try to get you a hearing date in sufficient time for that to get resolved. So I'm looking for that other file. Hold on a minute.
Unfortunately, the pretrial and trial date's not till after school starts, so we'll probably have to address that probably sooner than later this summer, I guess.
Yeah, and I agree, sooner rather than later. If you're unable to work it out, just get a hold of Dawn to get a date. I will certainly hear that issue before school starts.
Great, thank you.
Oh, it's right here in front of me. Okay, the next matter is the PPO matter, file 21-1365. This is the petitioner's motion for entry of a personal protection order. I'm assuming, Mr. Bailey, your client opposes this.
That is correct.
All right, so we'll start with any introductory remarks, Mr. White, or should I just swear your client?
Swear my client, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Lemay, you need to unmute.
Deb, you gotta hit the unmute button. It's probably lower left.
Oh, okay. Ms. Lemay, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I didn't hear a thing. Check your audio settings. You might have to turn your microphone volume up. It's in the lower right-hand corner of your screen where the audio, there's a little arrow there that you can click on and it'll allow you to adjust the volume. That's where it should be anyway. All right, you just muted again. It's in the same vicinity as that mute button, but there's also a way to adjust the volume of your microphone, and you need to do that.
The little arrow next to the mute button, at least on mine. And you just
all right, let's do this. Mr. White, do you have her phone number?
I do.
I'll just call her and we can keep the visual image going and we can hear her by phone.
Okay. Ready?
Oh, actually, I see it's on the petition. I'll just dial that number. Ends in 5230.
That's what I have, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. So we need to mute because your speaker is working.
Hold on one second. Okay, is that better?
Okay, that works. All right, ma'am,
Okay.
would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down now. State your full name for the record.
Deborah Ann Lemay.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Thank you. Ms. Lemay, do you remember filing the application for a personal protection order in this matter?
I do.
Okay. Was this the first time that you had sought a PPO against Mr. Lemay?
No, it was not. Originally, I filed for divorce September 16th of 2019 and was awarded a PPO then. We reconciled and tried to work on things, and I don't believe there was ever any participation on his behalf. So
Okay.
I filed a PPO in March, and I was going to set up the
Hold on.
for a hearing, but then I had new information and put in a new PPO that we're discussing today.
Can you tell the court about the incident roughly on April 20th, 2021 that you describe in your PPO application? What
I
happened?
can, and I did want to interject at the schooling, but this sort of talks about it too.
Yep, we're not
We've been
gonna-
married for
Deb,
20.
Deb, hold on. You just got to answer the question that gets asked. I know there are things you want to say, but you just can't talk. You have to wait for the
Okay.
question that you get, and that you have to answer that question directly, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so tell the court about what happened on April 20th, 21 that gave you concern to try to get a PPO.
Early in the morning, Daniel called me and told me to pick the kids up from school. He had things to do. He then hung up, was unavailable to be reached by phone over the course of the next 7 hours. And I arranged for alternative pickup as I was at my mother's preparing for my knee surgery and my knee replacement. And after he called me irate about having somebody pick the kids up, he told me his appointment was 3 o'clock and it was already 3:40 when the kids were brought home by a third party. And he went ballistic that I would not return home. Absolutely crazy. I then get a phone call from our pastor, who I also...
Let me stop you there. Was when he contacted you and was irate, was this by telephone or was this in person?
By telephone.
Where were you at when you took the call?
At my mother's.
Do you know where he was calling from?
In Pinckney, Michigan.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
I was at my mother's house in Pinckney, Michigan.
Where was he calling from, if you know?
From the home in Brooklyn.
Okay.
My children were there.
Okay. Again, just got to answer the questions, okay? You described him as irate. What exact statements, or could you describe his demeanor on the phone that would make you describe it that way?
Oh, he was cursing, using 4-letter F-bombs, wishing me dead. I can't even do this.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. Wishing you dead. What exactly did he say on the phone on that date about wishing you dead?
I wish you would just die, bitch.
Has he ever made statements like that to you before?
The first time that I got a PPO, yes. When I was truly in fear that he was going to snap, yes.
How did that make you feel when he made that statement about wanting you to die?
I mean, it made me feel isolated, alone, like I don't have a partner in life, like I've been, turned upon. I felt like, what do I have? And I was scared. I mean, my kids were with him and he's, wishing me dead.
So you were scared. What else did he say that gave you concern? You'll return home now, or you'll pay. Did he say how you would pay?
No.
Did he make any other threats to you at all?
Not that I can recall at this time, but there are extenuating circumstances that I later found out in a phone call.
But at that time, those were the only threats that he made?
Yes.
Okay. So after he made these statements, what did you do then?
I then took the phone call from Daniel White and called for a police escort, police standby, and got a driver and headed out to the house in Brooklyn.
Hold on. You called a pastor? Who did you call?
The pastor called me out of concern.
Okay. What's the pastor's name?
The pastor told me Objection.
that,
No.
quote unquote,
Hold on. I think she misunderstood the question. Say it again, Mr. White.
What's the pastor's name?
Daniel White,
And what church is he affiliated with?
Fellowship Baptist Church, where the kids also go to school.
And do you and Mr. Lemay attend church there as well?
Yes.
You can't say what the pastor said, but you received a call from Pastor White during this incident or during this general time frame?
Yes, I did.
Based on what Pastor White told you, how did you feel about the situation?
I was terrified for my children's safety as well as my own.
Based on the statements that Pastor White told you?
Yes. He's been our pastor for 5 years and never initiated a phone call to me.
This is the first time Pastor White ever called you?
No, but usually it would be a return phone call. He was acting as a go-between in his own words. I have that and can show you. not as a counselor, not in confidence. He was acting as a go-between since the first filing of the divorce.
Okay. Based on what Pastor White told you in the statements, you arranged for a police escort. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I was told that Dan was going to take a match to the house while the children.
Deb, stop. Again, remember, you can't say what the pastor told you, right?
Okay, so what was the question? I'm sorry.
You felt, I was just confirming that you actually got a police escort back to the home in Brooklyn. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
I had my sister pick me up and drive me out there, as I was still afraid to be alone at any time with him.
What happened when you arrived back at the home?
The police had actually, I had to call 911 again. The police had actually gone and talked to Dan and left. And I called them back, and the police officer told me that the kids had to willingly come with me, that nobody could have physical hands on the kids to stay or to go. And they all willingly came with me.
Did you have any interaction with Mr. Lemay?
Yes, I did. At that particular time, Danny ran up the stairs to get the keyboard part of his computer that separates from the screen. Dan was up behind him. The police officer was still at the sliding door because Danny ran to get it out of excitement. And Dan actually pushed me down one step, knowing that I had just had my right knee replaced and I was going in 2 days to have my left knee replaced.
Did anybody witness him assault you like that?
No, the officer came around right after that had happened, up the stairs.
What about the kids?
No, he was in front of Dan.
How did that make you feel?
Very vulnerable and scared, because there was a police there to make sure this didn't happen. And Dan is very calculating, manipulative, and takes every opportunity he gets to, set me back.
Based on the previous issuance of a PPO and the incident you're describing on 4/20, how do you feel things are going to go forward with this pending divorce?
I'm sorry, how do I feel what?
Is this going to go smoothly, or do you have some concerns about your safety still?
Oh, no, I have huge concerns. The kids left with the clothes on their back, as did I. And I went back out to get clothing, which I got their clothing in a basket, and he's so calculated that he pushed the basket when I was on the porch. Careful not to push me, but knowing that I had no balance, I was still on a walker or cane at that time while I'm trying to retrieve clothes for the kids. And he pushed the basket, and I also had a third party standby at that time. So the fact that he's losing it in front of third parties at this point really concerns me, because I feel like he just doesn't care at all anymore. And he's willing to do whatever he can to hurt me.
You'd like the court to issue a personal protection order against Mr. Lemay, is that correct?
Yes, I would.
So, we're going to the friend of the court in about a week or so for temporary custody and things. If the court were to give a personal protection order, how would you and Mr. Lemay continue to co-parent these kids and be able to communicate for their best interests?
Well, it's going to have to be through a third party. I have tried to talk with him regarding co-parenting, and every conversation turns into what I've done to him and how I am just a no-good piece of shit, and he hangs up on me.
Has that happened recently?
At least 6 times within the past 3 or 4 days. Oh, and one other thing to mention, in the PPO, I had requested, that he couldn't get near the animals. I had somebody feeding the horses. He pulled out the hose, ran over all of the connections that were plastic. We had to give the guy more money to go buy a hose. He also put tires or nails in the driveway, and he had to fix 3 tires. And then he called and left a voicemail on my answering machine, which I currently still have, telling me that the horses are out loose. All of this just to get me to come back home.
Are you interested in coming back home, Ms. Lemay?
Not with him there.
What are you doing right now?
I would be too afraid.
What are you doing right now for a roof over your head?
I go between my mother, but she has severe headaches, so I can't stay here when the kids are here. So I go to my sisters with the kids, and when they're visiting their dad, I come to my mother's. But I need to, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I need to get into counseling myself, and I need a somewhat permanent address to do that. I had also requested that you sent a letter 18 days ago, and he answered a 3-page ex parte order, but didn't agree to counseling for my son because when he talked to the school counselor, CPS got involved.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Did you say CPS is involved?
Yes. He was talking to a counselor and telling people on the bus that is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How and why did CPS get involved in your case?
Apparently he divulged something to the counselor that told the principal, and the principal of the Dexter school.
Let me stop you there. Deb, hold on. You said he. Who's he?
Danny, our 8-year-old son.
Okay. So he did
said
what?
Something in counseling that.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused. Is Danny in counseling?
No, because we left Dexter schools per order and sent him back to Fellowship Baptist. They don't have counselors available. I immediately.
Deb, stop.
Okay.
You just said that Danny divulged something to a counselor that got CPS involved, and then you just said he doesn't have a counselor. Which one is it?
Well, he had a counselor when he was at the Dexter schools.
Okay, and he made a disclosure to the Dexter counselor that CPS became involved.
The counselor notified the principal, and the principal called CPS to report.
Okay. Have you been contacted to give a statement regarding that?
Yes.
And you provided all the information to CPS. Did they interview the children? Do you know?
Yes, I believe they did. I even gave the officer a key to my house that I still have to retrieve.
Have you been notified by Child Protective Services as to the status or disposition of that investigation?
Yeah, they said that law enforcement took lead because this was turned over to the prosecuting attorney for a felonious assault, and I have not heard any progress or withdraw from that.
So the answer is it's not been resolved yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there is a
not to my knowledge.
And there's been a police report submitted to the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office seeking felonious assault charges against your husband?
To my knowledge, yes, by the Columbia Township Police.
Who did he feloniously assault?
Our son, Daniel, 8 years old.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor, for now.
Questions for the witness, Mr. Bailey?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lemay, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Who are the children with right now?
I'm sorry?
Who are the minor children with right now?
Currently, they're on visitation with their dad and in school because I have no legal jurisdiction.
Okay. But didn't you say you were fearful for your children's safety, but yet they're with Mr. Lemay right now voluntarily?
It's not voluntarily. I have no legal recourse. He told me if I don't agree, he will just go pick the kids up from school. Again, the pastor called me and told me he could not protect them without an order.
Ms. Lemay, can you please just answer the questions that are asked?
Yep.
Okay. Have you done any parenting time exchanges with Mr. Lemay?
Yes, we have done one that I pulled up in the driveway with a third party and the kids came out. And then we did another exchange at Baker Road in which, Chelsea, in which Dan says that I walked approximately 100 yards. I have a statement notarized right here that did not happen. I did not walk more than 12 yards there and back. It was pouring rain, and the entire park and ride is probably not even 100 yards.
Okay. Again, please just answer the questions that are asked. Did you voluntarily walk up to Mr. Lemay, exchange documents and some cash for some bills?
No, he was in his car when we exchanged the bills.
Did you voluntarily walk up to his car?
Yes,
Okay.
not alone.
Again, just answer the question asked. This will go a lot easier. Thank you. Since filing that petition for a personal protection order, did you and Mr. Lemay talk almost daily about the children?
Several conversations hanging up all by Dan, mad at me, because he cannot stay on topic about the children, rather argues about us.
Ms. Lemay, it was a yes or no question. Have you talked several times on the phone about
No.
You haven't called him?
I would have to say no. I would have to say no then.
Okay,
He does not stay on topic.
Have you called him over 15 times since April 21st?
I don't know. I would say probably close.
Okay. Now back to April 20th, April 21st. When Mr. Lemay called you to ask you to come home to watch the children, how long had you been vacant from the residence?
24 hours.
Okay. And was this the first time that you had left the home for a knee surgery?
No, I left during my other knee surgery as not to burden him.
Okay. When was that knee surgery?
That was March 15th.
Okay. Were you gone for approximately 20 to 25 days during that time?
No, I came home 8 days after a total knee replacement.
Okay. And how many days were you gone before the total knee replacement?
I think 5.
Okay. So you were gone at
I would
least,
have to double check. I think 5.
okay, but you were gone at least 13 days?
Probably so,
Okay. And you left the three
as a
minor,
guesstimate.
and you left the 3 minor children with Mr. Lemay?
It's not a choice.
It's a yes or no question.
A PPO doesn't.
This is Lemay. You have to answer the questions. Confine your answers to the questions asked. Don't go beyond. Don't volunteer information. Ask your question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ask your question again, Mr. Bailey.
Okay. You left the minor children home with Mr. Lemay during that at least 13-day period?
Yes.
Okay. You stated on the record that in that phone call around approximately April 20th, Mr. Lemay said, quote unquote, "I hope you die, bitch." Is that correct?
Correct.
Why did you not put that in your petition for personal protection order?
It was in the one for March. This is a frequent statement that he says. However,
But we're not here for
when
that.
he loses it like he has, I'm much more concerned.
Okay. You also said, or you also testified that Mr. Lemay said, "You will return now or you will pay." Why did you not put that in your petition for personal protection order?
I'm under an exuberant amount of stress. I'm on the road. I don't really have a place to call home. I have 4 articles of clothing, and I have 2 knee replacements over the course of 5 weeks. It does take time to reflect on everything.
Okay. You also testified that Mr. Lemay pushed you down the stairs while the police were present. Is that correct?
I testified that he pushed me down 1 stair.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you not put that in your petition for personal protection order?
I thought I did.
Okay. If the police were present, did the police witness you hip check Mr. Lemay and tell you to cut it out?
I think so.
Okay. You mentioned several times that there were third-party witnesses.
Oh, excuse me. I must say, yes, that did happen, but it was when I bent over to give my son my shoes. Yes.
All right. Ms. Lemay, you testified that there were third-party witnesses to a lot of these altercations with Mr. Lemay. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Where are the witnesses for today's hearing?
I don't have them here today as I didn't know that I need them. I have 11 people, including 2 Michigan State officers and a state detective with body cams that are willing to testify. I have a total of 11, 3 being law enforcement and 8 being personal friends of the family.
Okay. If this was your,
I did not know that I would need that for today.
if this was your hearing for a personal protection order, when else would you have needed those witnesses?
I thought during I sent my lawyer a letter last night with those names, and I thought that I would need them through the course of family of the court and the custody issues, not so much the PPO. Like what happened was real. I didn't think that I would need their names because some of them are not relevant to the PPO.
Okay, so you thought your testimony alone today was good enough?
I did, and the one thing I didn't think was going to be good enough, I did print out the statement that I was texted from the pastor that does indicate he was not serving as a confidant,
Ms. Lemay,
that he was acting as a go-between, because he's key to this case. And I do have this paper that I printed off from my screen.
okay, Ms. Lemay, please just answer the questions that are asked.
I'm trying to, but I want to be complete.
That's not your job. Your job is just to answer the questions. Ms. Lemay, how far away are you, or how far away is your mother's house from Mr. Lemay's and yours marital residence?
It is about an hour.
Okay. And are you currently in fear for your personal safety?
Yeah. And every time I have to get near him. And I had the horses picked up and relocated because I don't know what he's capable of.
Ms. Lemay, that's not responsive to the question. Try to contain yourself.
I apologize.
Ms. Lemay,
Yes.
if you're currently in fear of your personal safety, why have you gone to 2 parenting time exchanges and let the kids be with Mr. Lemay?
Because the law does not provide me an option. They're legally his children, and until we have a determination otherwise, he's able to see his children. Even if granted the PPO, he's still able to see his children.
Okay. So one last question. You stated that the police department is investigating a felony assault against Danny, your minor child, but yet you've given Danny over to Mr. Lemay. Is that in accordance with the law?
As I'm told, until a decision has been reached by the prosecuting attorney, yes.
Okay. And has Mr. Lemay been charged or arrested for anything?
I have no idea.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Can you redirect, Mr. White? You're muted, Eric.
Sorry, Judge. No, thank you.
All right. Any further witnesses, Mr. White?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bailey, I'm assuming you want to present your client's testimony now?
No, I don't have any witnesses.
All right, fair enough. I guess I'm ready for arguments then. Mr. White?
Thank you, Your Honor. Given that Mr. Lemay's decided not to testify, the court's pretty much obligated to take the uncontroverted testimony of my client at face value and issue the PPO. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The burden here is on Miss Lemay to show that she's in fear of her personal safety or her children's personal safety. Her testimony on cross-examination would show that a lot of what she said was not, in fact, true. She has no witnesses to back up her statements. She's presented no exhibits today. She's over an hour away, and she's voluntarily seen Mr. Lemay since filing the petition, as well as had several conversations with him. So it's our argument that the personal protection order is not warranted, that she's not in fear of anything right now, and that the parties are a good distance away, and during these divorce proceedings, they'll stay a good distance away from each other. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Whether or not she is in fear, she testified she is. I have no reason to doubt that. But there's still a question of whether or not the fear is reasonable. I haven't heard sufficient evidence to convince me that a PPO is necessary in this case, so I'm going to deny the request.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bailey, are you going to be on this case, or is it going to be Amy?
I was covering for Amy's
okay.
Ex parte matter, the personal protection order. My appearance was on record. Amy and I will probably work side by side, but you could send correspondence to either one of us and the issues will be handled.
Cool. I just wasn't sure where to send it to. Appreciate it.
That's fine. Yep.
Ms. Lemay, we'll talk here this afternoon. Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate your patience today.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.